Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you in this daily Hindu Honors video in the morning. These videos come in the evening, the MCQ lessons they come 23rd of November it is, and let's start the lesson. Paid content available at just 159 rupees per month. Important videos are coming, bonus videos, special videos, all are there by 3 important faculties, and other faculties are also bringing these important courses in the next month. So a great help is on the way, and these courses are going to be totally affordable so that all of you can afford that. Any issue regarding payments or any query regarding the courses, you can ask here on these 2 numbers. Chat section is there on the website address, and the PDF you are getting on Telegram channel, whose link is given here on this Facebook group. Here you can follow me on Instagram too. And now, first issue, GDP slump will hit $5 trillion target, warns Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog, the important body, the replacement of a planning commission as official announcement, that is now warning the government that the GDP slump which is going on, that will hit as a blockade for this $5 trillion economy target of 2025. We had also said that we will be a $10 trillion economy by 2030. So these were ambitious goals, and for that some requisites are there. You see, even the CEO Amitabh Kant for Niti Aayog, he said that we have to be growing at least 12.4% on an average for the nominal GDP numbers, which is without accounting for inflation. Means if we adjust the inflation there, then certainly these numbers will come down to 8-9%, but as a nominal number it should be around 12.4% at least. But what is the present number now? Without accounting for inflation, it is a mere 8%, and it is lowest since 2014. That's the problem. Government is expected to release data for the second quarter, July to September, later this month, and as many experts were alarming that the indicators are really giving a gloomy picture, and the quarter 2 is going to be worse than the quarter 1. So in quarter 1 it was 5.2%, and after that the real number came at 5%. Now the quarter 2 could dip to 4.2%, and that's a phenomenal decline, you may say, in the growth rates, and it will be lowest in many years. So why that situation came, that's a big issue to be concerned about. And the macro concerns like the NPA situation, the demand situation which is there, and the issues with agrarian crisis, MSME sector, and you may say the whole trajectory of the manufacturing sector, that is not going very good, and we have to improve a lot on those numbers. Like the core sector growth, that is also very low in the coal sector, in the steel sector, in electricity sector. There are major challenges now. The demand for electricity is going down day by day, and that's a big cause of worry for these electricity generation companies. So that's a big issue. And Amitabh Kant, Niti Aayog's CEO, he made this presentation, and he requested that we have to go for structural changes there. Whatever measures we took, these are not sufficient, and many problems are surfacing here. The electric power transmission and distribution, T&D losses in India stands at 19%, higher than that of Bangladesh and Vietnam. So meaning is that there are very high industrial tariffs. So whatever electricity they are consuming, there are very high tariffs, because there is a cross subsidization issue in favor of residential tariffs. So that also needs a lot of reform here, and we have to focus more on export of high value technology and manufacturing goods. Then only we can improve from here. Otherwise the $5 trillion economy goal will be a difficult and uphill task. Okay, next, special protection group, SPG bill. We discussed that issue in much detail when the security was removed for the Gandhi family. Now government is gonna introduce a special protection group amendment bill 2019 in parliament next week. This information was given in the Lok Sabha, and they said that SPG bill is going to exclude former PMs and kins, and that amendment is approved by cabinet now. And you see, they withdrew the security of Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra, and then there was a huge uproar there in the house also. Now they are clarifying that we are also going to bring a important amendment bill here. As I told you, it was set up in 1985. For 3 years it was running on the executive orders. Then in 88 the SPG Act came, and at that time former PMs were not included in the security, but after the Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, former PMs and their families, they were also covered under that. Now with the change, they are gonna change these conditions also, like just for 1 year after the completion of the term, former PMs, they will be covered. If further security threat is there, then they will consider the issue, and the power will be there with the central government there. Okay, other bills are also in the line, and they are going to be introduced in next week or maybe next week in the ongoing winter session there. Okay, so that's an important issue, and we will discuss this important amendment bill because it's also a controversial one. Okay, next, RCEP still on Japan's agenda. We had decided to withdraw from there, and all other 15 countries are going ahead with the proposal there. We had our own issues, and those were genuine issues, and we could never move forward with the ongoing situation. So our External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar is in Nagoya, which is there in Japan, for a G20 foreign ministers meeting on November 22-23, and he met his counterpart Mr. Motegi on Friday. And Japan is going to make another attempt to make India revise its decision to not to join the RCEP, the forum there, the free trade agreement there. So it's very, very difficult for us to revise it, and in near future this looks totally impossible because the issues are not solved, and the presence of China here, the kind of approach and the ability China has here, and the expectations China has from this whole agenda, as it is indirectly sponsoring this whole RCEP issue. So that makes difficult for India. A lot of difficulties are there, like we are not that much big exporting nation, and ongoing problems of agrarian crisis in India, the ongoing economic slowdown issue, and the condition of many manufacturing giants in India. So these all are in a way holding us from joining the RCEP there, and in these conditions we cannot allow ourselves to be there as a member there. Okay, so we will discuss this issue, what's going to happen after this important 2+2 ministerial level meeting there. Okay, next, bill to make cleanliness a fundamental duty, and this is a private members bill. Private members bills, they are very special, means any person in the parliament who is not a minister but he is a MP, and if he moves a bill, then it's a private members bill. That's the normal definition of it. In Rajya Sabha, BJP MP Prabhat Jha, he moved a private members bill seeking a constitutional amendment to make participation in a mass cleanliness movement and spreading the message of Swachh Bharat a fundamental duty. Means you see, in part 4A, in article 51A, we have fundamental duties, and those were added later, and you see these duties, they were lesser in number. Some duties were added later, like this 11th one, to provide opportunities for education by the parent or the guardian to the child or what between the age of 6 to 14 years. That was added later. Okay, Savarn Singh committee was there, which recommended about these fundamental duties, and he also said that voting should be made a duty, but that was dropped there, and some of the recommendations, they were taken on this list, and these are asked many times by UPSC. this to uphold the protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. This issue was asked directly in the prelims 2015. They gave this important third duty, and they asked that it belongs to preamble, DPSP or the fundamental duty there. So that was confusing one for some students who did not go through this important list. So Mr. Prabhat Jha wants to add another duty here, and that is for the Clean India and the participation in mass cleanliness movements. That should be a duty according to him. So we have to see 28 private members bills. They have been introduced in Lok Sabha till now, and one more important discussion was going on. As I was telling you about the voting issue, they are discussing for a compulsory voting bill 2019 bill. It's also a private members bill. So in Lok Sabha the discussions are going on, and steps to control population and for compulsory teaching of Vedic education, they were among the raised issues through these 28 private members bills. So that's the important discussion here. Here the details are given regarding the private members bills, how they are called private members bills, and how they are introduced. Is there a separate issue? This is actually not a separate issue, just these are moved by the MPs who are non-ministers. Okay, and the procedure is same as any other bill, and the numbers, they are very less who got passed till date. And if you remember the important amendments which were piloted by the private members, so 26th amendment regarding the abolishment of privy purses in 1971, and 61st amendment regarding the reduction of the voting age from 21 to 18. So that was also seeded by a private members legislation. So these are historical ones, and here the procedure of introduction is given. So please go through this text. I have taken it from a old article in the Indian Express newspaper. So this is some additional data here. Okay, and in 77 Rajya Sabha passed a private members bill to amend the Aligarh Muslim University Act, and then it got lapsed. In 15 Rajya Sabha passed the Rights of Transgender Person Bill, and this was also a private members bill piloted by Tiruchi Shiva of DMK. Now this article actually is an old article, and it was taken from 2018 newspaper. So the status of these bills, that may be different, but the last time a private members bill was passed by both houses was in 1970 only. So that's the issue. Next, policy to hasten piped gas infrastructure on the cards. You see, high level panel to study all issues, that is going to be set up here. And you see, as we are progressing further, cities, their infrastructure is also changing, and the issue of piped gas is really very progressive. But in a country like India, where massive rapid urbanization is going on and things are not properly managed in all the areas, in cities, in urban areas, many troubles are there. So it's not an easy task. City gas distribution, there is going to be a national policy very soon on it, and to speed up the development of infrastructure for supply of piped natural gas to households, as well as CNG for automobiles and industrial units. So that is on the cards. And the regulatory board, Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Board, PNGRB, has formed a high level committee there. So that is gonna speed up this whole issue. And one more issue of geographical areas. You see, geographical areas, they are recognized across the country. They were 78 in number in 17. Now they are 229 in total, and covering 71% of country's population there. So mainly the cities they are covering there. But the issue is of a delay in getting approvals at the state level. That's a major hurdle there, because maximum number of cities they are present in these states, and the approvals, clearances, they are important, because a lot of infrastructure is gonna get disturbed. Then it is going to be rebuilt, like the roads and all, because these pipes, they will be going under the ground, and there are many issues, because it is going to be a very sensitive issue. Piped natural gas means it's an inflammable gas. So we have to bring a lot of protection there in its installation and its whole setup there. So that's why this policy is going to be very, very important. So the cooperation from the state governments, that is also the key for its success there. Okay, next, the most important article of the day, the opacity around electoral bonds. You see many experts, opposition parties, and civil society groups, NGOs, they all complained regarding this electoral bond issue when it was introduced in January 18. Then government said that it is going to be a great solution and we are bringing more transparency. Today in the newspaper also this issue is there, that electoral bonds, they have cleaned the political funding there and it's more transparency now. But actually this is totally opposite to that. It is never a transparent method, and it is being alleged as a big fraud in the name of a political funding, because the kind of details when we go through about the political funding through electoral bonds, then many controversies are there. There are disclosures now by Election Commission and RBI that they had expressed reservations about the electoral bonds scheme. And this issue is so important because the whole issue of elections in India, our democracy is the most vibrant democracy. Elections are the most important issues, and there the election funding is the major menace in this country. Means, according to some reports, apart from the official numbers of 27,000 crores, some independent institutions say that more than 60,000 crore rupees were used in these Lok Sabha elections, last Lok Sabha elections. From where that much money came? Electoral bonds are the main issue now, and SBI actually releases these electoral bonds, and anybody can buy these bonds, and they will be dedicated to a particular party. So SBI knows about that, and from SBI, these agencies, the enforcement agencies, they can get this information, and the government can know about the funders there. So where this funding is going on, that can be known to the government also. That is a big possibility here. Okay, what were the reservations there? Election Commission said that this would allow illegal foreign funds to be routed to political parties. What RBI said, RBI governor wrote to the finance minister, then finance minister, that allowing any entity other than the central bank, the RBI, who is mainly the issuer of many bonds there. So if you allow SBI there for these bonds, which are currency like instruments, is fraught with considerable risk. And that's a very logical argument by RBI, because RBI is the central body there and that should be authorized to issue these bonds. Why SBI is chosen there? Is SBI more important and more capable than RBI? That's the big question there. All these objections were overruled and the scheme was passed in Lok Sabha as a part of the finance bill, so that it would not be possible for Rajya Sabha to make some changes there. Means the authority of Rajya Sabha, that was circumvented here, and that was the biggest problem with that. Means financial bills have two categories. One category is like money bills, and when it comes to the conditions of money bill, then Rajya Sabha cannot do anything, because they are not authorized to make any changes. They can propose their changes, but it is all Lok Sabha which may accept or which may decline. So they all sidelined all these objections and they went ahead with that scheme. So the procedure to execute this plan was totally flawed. Now, need for funds. First, why is this important? Why these funds are important? Main reason is that in 21st century, money plays an increasingly larger role in election. That is the big worry. Means in this digital revolution age, there are many cheaper ways where we can conduct elections with minimum cost there. But the cost is ever rising in this country, and it is reaching up to 50-60,000 crore rupees. What's happening here? And one thing is totally established in this country, that if a party spends good money, then there is no guarantee of the victory. But if a party having no money, that's certainly going to lose the election there, because there are so many expenses today. The way they conduct elections, the hoardings, boards, and the rallies, the security, and the money paid to the workers there, all those campaigns, many issues are there. So it all leads up to thousands of crores of rupees. That requirement is such. So that's why the party which has less money or no money, then certainly it is going to lose. This looks like that in this country today. Now, that's the practical thing, and one more practical thing is there. In India, there is an added expenditure of buying votes through distribution of gifts, money, liquor, and so on. So these are harsh truths about India. Again, some people, you will say that these are all negative informations, but these are the truths. If we ignore them, like the top TRP gaining channels of this country, then how we are going to get a solution there? Because according to those news channels today, there is no problem in India, and the perfect governance is going on. There are no issues, and all who are asking any question, criticizing the moves there, which are extremely problematic, then they are anti-national people, and they are creating hurdles there and the obstacles there. So we have to discuss all these harsh truths. Maybe some people may feel these are negative things, but these are very alarming situations, and the situations instead of improving, they are getting worse and worse, and that's why bigger worries are there, and more than ever criticism is coming in the newspapers like The Hindu. So there is a big reason there, because some unprecedented things are going on in this country which were not there, and we are discussing so huge issues today which are unprecedented, which are unconventional for this country, and they are a serious threat for our important future of the democracy there. So that's why big worries are there. Like in the economy issue, a lot of articles, they alarmed against the situation. They said that these kind of moves are really going to hurt our economic condition, and we will never be able to get those levels where we are aspiring for. And today the condition is the same. Means what they were having fears of, the same situation is in front of us. At this opportune time, we should have been growing more than 10%, and we are growing at below 5%. This is really alarming. So that's why a central issue is whether a winning candidate or party will work for the public or for those who have funded them. Means thousands of crores of rupees. Common people, they are not giving that money to the political parties. If any corporate body who has that much capacity, or a group of bodies, if they are paying thousands of crores of rupees to these politicians, then certainly after winning the election, they will work for them. That's for sure. There is no discussion on that point. And that is the case of nexus between the political parties and the corporate houses, and the crony capitalism issue. So some countries have public funding of elections, and campaign funding laws and reforms are a constantly evolving subject internationally. So these things are being discussed, and many of the countries, they are in this favor of the opinion that the funding should be public, and that should be totally transparent. Otherwise, this can be the biggest fraud in the democracies, and that's going on in this country for sure. India is surely lagging far behind here, because the voters, they do not know who is funding whom through electoral bonds. You will be shocked to know, when people asked about these details of the electoral bonds, then government said no, we will not tell anything. So how we can be sure about the right practice there, honest practices there, if you are denying all the information? Means the electoral bonds, they say that these are bringing more transparency and more systematic money is coming here. So what is the problem in giving that information? They said that the authorities may harass these funders, but these authorities, they are under whom? They are under the central government only. What is the problem with that? If that money is legitimate, if it is all tax paid money, then what is the problem in that relation? because people may have political ideologies, people will support some party. So what's the problem with that? But shockingly, they do not want to reveal that, and that's the most bizarre thing about it. According to the writer, he says that that means for sure some wrong practices are going on, and that's why we see that more than 90% funding is going to a particular party in this country, and that's unprecedented, and that's really a great imbalance. And imbalance in a diverse country like India, in a progressive country like India, that's really a huge problem. Because you see, if there is no opposition in the country, then we may be moving towards a big tyrannical system. Because multi-party system we adopted because we had diversity. There were genuine reasons for that. There must be many parties, and there must be a strong opposition in a country like India, where major corruptions are the typical problem. So that's why this check and balance is necessary. But if there will be no opposition, there will be no party who can ask questions, who can check the authoritarian excesses of the ruling party, then this does not mean any democracy here. Means the democracy is totally lost, because we need all those balances, and we are observing more and more centralizing tendencies there, more and more loss of autonomy in important independent institutions there. And certainly there was a central bias there, but more and more centralization we are observing in today's polity. So that's why these issues are so important. We have seen so many examples, and they are way more intensive, and the frequency is very high, where there are some targetings, attacks on some opposition leaders, and many excesses we have seen. And we are very much accustomed to this thing, that any ruling party which is there, this is all normal in this country, and they can do anything they want. This is not a good idea. This is a very dangerous precedent, because if the trend is set, then in the future any party will come, they will adopt the same measure. They will never want to tell you anything about any decision, any issue, and they will use agencies according to their own whims and their wishes, and they will target the opposition parties, and there will be no opposition in this country. So we will not remain a democracy there. So when we have opposition, when we have a proper balance there, and when we have a strong quasi-federal institution in this country, then it is in favor of this country's future. Otherwise, this country will lose its huge and vibrant democracy, and that will never be a true democracy. That's the issue. Because you see, in this electoral bond issue, the bank, the SBI, knows the purchaser of the bonds as well as the party that cashed it. The law agencies can obtain this information whenever they want. So can the ruling party use this to demand donations for itself, or prevent donations to others, and use the law enforcement agencies to harass those who donate to rival parties? There is a big possibility there, because we do not see any problem in getting that information. And there is nothing in the electoral bonds or existing laws to prevent this from happening. Means it can totally happen, and that's why we have seen a unprecedented change, that more than 90% funding is going to a particular party. What is that reason? Because the voting patterns, they are not like that. That party is not getting the 90% votes. So that's why it's a very troubling issue. Equally troublesome, the donation limits have been removed. It's the biggest problem. Means the donation limits and the expenditure limits, they are the biggest requisite there if you want to reform that system. But they do not want to reform that. They actually want to distort it more and more. A large corporate could buy the government using electoral bonds. There is a big possibility there, because they have enormous capacities, and in some corporate houses in this country, they are like that today. They have enormous capacity. They can invest thousands of crores of rupees in Indian elections, so that all the policies, laws and all, they will come according to them, in the future. So India continues to have spending limits, but everyone knows hardly any winning candidate sticks to that, and there is no action. Almost all of them, they cross the limits there, the spending limits there, and it's all the issue of crores. Although officially they will say anything, but we know what is the market price of a hoarding, how you can get that, and how you can organize an event, and how you can organize a rally, how much money is needed. This is all visible there, the kind of posters, advertisements we see. So we know the near about market prices there, and that's why they are giving these stats as around 50 to 60,000 crore rupees they were wasted in this election, because it was all wasted, because we can have better alternatives, cheaper ways we can have. But in this country, the exploitation of the poorest class, that happens for sure during elections, and for that they need a lot of money. Reduction in cash donations from 20,000 to 2,000 rupees. That was the important provision in this bonds issue. But that's not good enough. There are parties with hundreds of crores of declared income who claim that all the fund were received from small cash donations of 100 or less. But if you count all of them, then they are never thousands of crores of rupees according to their declaration. Means there is something very, very problematic and suspicious. And the hoarding of 2,000 rupees notes now, that is becoming a major menace there. And there is no chip in 2,000 rupees note, as it was advertised by these third class media houses of this country, that if there is any hoarding, we will get the information from the satellite, there is a chip. So there is nothing like that, and the hoarding is going on, and it is reported by official bodies. And in short, electoral bonds cannot eliminate black money there. There are many ways where this black money is coming into elections, because all issues are going in a secretive manner, and they do not want to give any information to the public. And the way they went ahead with it in its execution, in a totally an arbitrary manner, making it a finance bill and then getting it passed only with the authority of Lok Sabha there, that was really the biggest evidence there. Now, who will raise these questions? Opposition parties. You see, when any party in power, they do not want any question, they do not have any problem. But when they are in opposition, they have a lot of problems. But you see, maybe it is for their own advantage, but the balance must be there. If any party which is in government, if they are doing something really wrong, then if the opposition raises that point, then that is important. Maybe it is there, it is that for their own advantage, but the balance can be achieved like that. So the opposition is important. We know that all are not idealistic people, and we know how much honesty is there among all the parties, all the politicians. So that's why that thing is okay. All are very smart. So that's why the balance will certainly be there. Okay, and the civil society, which can play the most important role, is seen and is labeled now as anti-national, anti-establishment now. So there is no question left for the civil society in this country. That has become so weak, because the deliberate trolling, the targeting, and the whole campaign against their importance we have seen, and they are very much successful in eliminating these important pressure groups. They cannot raise any important issue in this country today, because the public is totally brainwashed. Okay, and the media is the biggest tool there. Whatever they will show, people will blindly believe that. So in India, it is possible for those in power to ignore all those pressures, and we are certainly missing the elephant in the room. We do not need an incentive to be transparent and honest. And it looks like the parties, when we talk about them, that they should follow the RTI rules and all, then it looks like they are doing some sacrifice, and they are talking about some big step and sacrifice there, because it looks like we need an incentive to be transparent and honesty. that should not be the case. That should be a mandatory condition there, but that is totally missing, and we are very much accustomed to those issues, that this happens like that in this country. There is no problem, but there is the biggest problem when we become accustomed to that, and when we do not demand any accountability there. Okay, any political party can voluntarily choose to disclose its funds and sources. There is no law that prevents them from doing so, but they do not do that, and that's the heavily ignored issue by these parties. It's a big setback to the democracy. The ruling party gets nearly all the funds in this electoral bond issue because they can know about the whole information, who is giving funds to whom, and certainly they can hound all those funders who are giving funds to any other party. So that's all in the power of the ruling party there. Practically, there is no doubt about that. It, along with the enforcement agencies, knows how and who has given money to whom, and the bigger danger is the long-term impact. Means this trend which is being set up, all parties will follow this same trend in the future, and there will be no democracy in the future because it will all go in an opaque way, and they will keep claiming that this is more transparent, but actually this is more opaque. And any layman can understand that. Is it more opaque or it is more transparent? So a big lie in our country's face. Why? Because people are blind. They do not see any logic and they do not use their minds. Whatever they are told by these media houses, they will believe that. So there is no need of any rocket science to understand that this electoral bond is a more transparent manner or a more opaque manner. Okay. So what is democracy without free speech and dissent, especially against the powerful? There you can write a very important